Hey guys. Hmm. As usual, I'm 6 minutes early. Okay. All right. I'm going to wait about 6 more minutes. I came on just to make sure everything works. Hi. Yeah, I decided to do a live. Hi, everyone. Sorry. It is so dry here. Oh, how are you guys doing? Well, from the comments, I can tell that people are not doing the best right now, which I understand. Um, all right, I'm going to just answer the questions that are here at the moment. In terms of why are LTL rates still reasonable and dry vans low? That's a good question. But I do know it actually says, I was looking at an article today. Hold on. Yeah, the cost per LTL shipment remained elevated in the first quarter, up 1.5%. So yeah, whereas truckload rates remain at the bottom. That, however, there was like a slight move up because the shippers were pulling forward freight because of tariffs. Um, yeah, and also it says here, which is quite interesting, although you probably know this. Um, where is it? Rail intermodal has gained massively at the expense of dry van truckload volumes, and they're continuing to do so. Now, in terms of the, you know what, let me start doing that. Hi. Tariff war. Will freight volume go up or go down? It depends on who you ask, right? Some people strongly believe that tariffs are the way to, in the long run, make volumes go up. Some people say it's going to cause a spike in the beginning and then it's going to crash. So yeah, it depends on who you ask right now. The thing that I do see is that there's a ton of uncertainty right now. Um, Working my tail off, but I'm seeing fewer contractors pulling extra loads. Yeah. Good afternoon. Hi, Ian. Hi, Eli. Oil futures are dropping lower. Yeah. And it's interesting. It hasn't dropped yet. The diesel prices haven't dropped yet. They're kind of lagging behind. But I did see that the futures are kind of, they crashed. Yeah. All right, I'm going to wait a little bit because I did say that this is going to be at 11:30 Pacific time. But in general, yeah, the market is doing interesting things. I find it very interesting, the reaction. See, I dropped the ball today, kind of. It was my bad with the market update because usually I explain things relatively well. And today I I just kind of went through the data and that was it. And now I understand why there's so much confusion. So many people were kind of taken aback by the data that they saw and they're like, this is not what's happening. This is not what's matching our experience, which I understand. So I made a second video. Hopefully that will explain it. All right, you know what? I'm just going to go through the comments so that not to lag behind. Still unemployed. Got it. Hello. You're just a flatbed trucking business carrier? Yeah, I'm a carrier. A lot of people think that I'm just like some hired dispatcher working. No, I'm not. I have a trucking company and we only do flatbed. What's the California market going to be at for 2-3 quarters reefers? Usually the California market picks up quite a bit for reefers in the summer because of produce. I don't know this time around though, because a lot of produce, California, Arizona, lots of produce there. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty right now in terms of what's going on. Plus, in California right now, a lot of farmers, and I'm not going to get into politics, it's just not going to happen. But the reality of what is happening in California, Bakersfield has a ton of farmland, and a lot of folks are not going to work because a lot of them are illegal immigrants. So I don't know what that's going to do to the volume in terms of produce later on. Yeah. Is it just me or everything is slow? I haven't gone out in 2 weeks because the rate is too low. Depends. What kind of equipment type do you haul? Because for me, I've had a different experience. I've had over the past month, um, I have had an easier time on the load board. But then again, flatbed carrier, the flatbed rates have increased slightly. And this is probably because of the panic with tariffs. And plus, I have managed to keep my flatbeds in good areas without getting out of them. So I've had a different experience, but this is just a lot of planning and a little bit of luck on my side. I'm hearing that a lot of dry van and reefers are shocking the crap out of me because, as far as I can remember, dry van rates are now at $1.89 per mile, which is another source of confusion for a lot of people. $1.89 on average for dry vans on the spot market, $2.18 on average for reefers. Please remember that this is including short hauls. Everything is lumped together into that average, including the 50-mile load that pays $4 per mile. So it skews it. But yeah, I have heard that dry vans and reefers are struggling quite a bit. I haul Intermodal and it's been pretty decent. That's amazing. That's amazing. Intermodal, actually, I read something about it. Yeah. Freightwaves released like an article and they said Intermodal, eating truckloads lunch. Yeah, it says here that rail Intermodal has gained massively at the expense of dry van truckload volumes and looks to continue doing so for the foreseeable future. Excuse me, let me put this on silent. Okay. Um, and the two primary reasons behind Intermodal's gain in market share are time and cost. Yeah. Um, if contracts are set to reduce pricing, how is it that contracts are more pricey than spot these days? I mean, you have to remember that contract and spot, these are averages, right? There are going to be certain markets on the spot market that are paying worse, much worse, and there are going to be certain markets that pay much better than contract rates. Again, data is a game of averages, which is why I understand the frustration I felt today from you guys and why I wanted to come on this live and just kind of give a little bit more, not insight, but just maybe perspective that data that you see on the market updates, we do them every single week. And that's just a small snapshot for a week, right? But yeah, in terms of spot and contract, averages. It's all a game of averages. Keyword in the long run. In terms of tariffs, yeah, a lot of folks do. There are folks that completely are against tariffs. There are folks that are for them no matter what. A lot of people in the middle say, yeah, in the long run, tariffs could benefit US manufacturing because it would force manufacturers to come back to the US in order to avoid those tariffs. But in the long run, that is correct. Did you ever make the rate per mile chart available? I actually, if you send me an email, I send it. If you sent me an email and I didn't, I'm so sorry. It must have fallen through the cracks. But usually people tell me, can you send me the cost per mile calculator? And I send two versions of it. Not according to the data. Ian. According to the data, it's Oklahoma. Last week, Texas and Oklahoma were pretty much the same. But yeah, I do know that in Amarillo or Amarillo, depending on how you pronounce it, there is a I forgot what the name of the truck stop is, but there is one that it just beats everyone. And again, remember the diesel prices also data. It's a game of averages. They take all the different prices within that state and they average it out, right? So sometimes you're going to find something cheaper in Texas, in a part of Texas, than in Oklahoma, even though statistically speaking, taking averages, Oklahoma is cheaper. Thanks. Back to my bunk. Co-driver has the wheel. Shuttle LTL. Run 6,000 miles per week. Another question. Have you had any experience using Uber Freight? Any pros and cons from your experience? Yeah, in the beginning, when we were just starting out, for the first few years, I would even say, we worked a lot with Uber Freight. And I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't really like the bidding system as much, just because I do prefer talking to a human and kind of negotiating that way. But Uber Freight was, I can't say anything. It was great back then. And I'm talking about 2019 until around 2022, beginning of 2022, because they paid fast. Usually there were no issues. There was only one issue I faced with Uber Freight in terms of a lumper payment. There was one issue. They never paid us for, never reimbursed us for a lumper payment, because what is that system called? We haven't done reefers in so long. Geez. There is a system where you do it online, the lumper payment, it stopped working, so there was no receipt. Yeah, so that's the only issue. But since then, they have gone downhill. I do not work with Uber Freight. I am not a fan of them at all. Their rates are horrible. They don't have much volume, at least not for flatbeds. And yeah, I haven't had it. It started going downhill in 2022 when all of a sudden they stopped paying for the lumper receipt reimbursement was one. Then they didn't pay for Tono. Then they started being late on payments. I'm like, okay, you guys are done. I'm reefer right now, and I've been getting a lot of freight out of California. Yeah, I believe California has a ton of volume there for reefers even now. So not surprising. What state is the best state to register trucks when it comes to emission tests? Definitely not California. Funny enough, I just did my emissions testing, because we are a California carrier, a few days ago. It's very easy to do the emission tests. It only takes about 3 minutes. And I found a company that actually does it. But in terms of where to register not to do the emission test, yeah, anyone else know? Because I'm not very, I don't know. I know that they're trying to fight this California emission stuff. Bakersfield needs more water allocation for the farmers. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, California is always conserving water, always conserving water. It's crazy. What was it? Was it in 2022 where, I think it was 2022, the summer, when they allowed farmers to only use a tiny little percentage of their land in order to grow, produce, because there was a drought in California. What does a rejection rate mean? A rejection rate is when a contract carrier, they have a deal that, okay, we'll haul this load for a shipper. And then they reject it. They say, you know what? No, we're not going to haul this load because either we don't have the capacity that we thought we had, or we found a better load on the spot market. A lot of people are confused about that, because when you hear contract carrier, you think contract, like you cannot break it. No. They're called paper rates. So contract carriers reject freight for any reason a lot of the time. And shippers then, if they go through several of their key carriers and all of them reject it, that load ends up very often on the spot market because that load needs to be moved. And usually that shipper puts it on the spot market either by themselves or through a broker or whatnot. So the higher the rejection rate, the more contract carriers are rejecting freight, the more loads technically end up on the spot market, and that increases volume on the spot market. They say when the rejection rate is higher than 5%, I mean sonar, it means that it's no longer in contraction territory. Right now it's 6.2%, although it fell from 6.5% last week. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. I have a reefer and have been parked since end of February, and I'm not sure when I'm going to go back out. It costs me more to run than what they're paying. Look, if you have paid off equipment, and if if your fixed costs are manageable, I understand folks who want to sit this one out. Yeah, but there are a lot of folks who can't. They have everything on payments. Those fixed costs do not go away, regardless of whether you're parked or running. So, yeah, but I do understand the folks that decide to park their trucks and just sit this mess out. Is steel hauling slow right now? You know what? We haven't moved much steel lately. I'll tell you that. We've moved a lot of PVC pipes. Excuse Sneaky. Sneaky is barking. A lot of PVC pipes. What else did we? Solar panels. Just recently we moved solar panels. Let me see what this month, like April. Okay. Perfect. So we've had, geez, Louise, loads. I'm actually curious myself. Where's April? Okay. So we've had, okay, building materials, which is just, I don't even remember what that was exactly. We've had a lot of shingles. Yep, a lot of shingles. We don't do lumber often because not a fan of the forcing my guys to tarp. Yeah, a lot of shingles. Then we've had more shingles. Shingles and PVC pipes is what I have seen. And again, I haven't either it's not quite luck, I wouldn't say. Like this is the first time in a couple of years I can say that it wasn't really luck that got us the rates that we got. It's just hanging out in the right places. Like $3, I got a load for $3.38 with Deadhead, but that was a short load. It was 443.5 miles for $1,500. Like those are the kind of loads we've been managing to get this month. Last month was a little bit worse. Hi, Miranda. Do you think it's worth upgrading to higher end MCI feature on that for a one truck owner operator? Any other cheaper options beside your awesome weekly update? I think so. First of all, DAT has, if you go under resources and blog, every week they have their own kind of market update for every equipment type. They also have their own heat map. So that's a free resource. The one I use is also free. If you go to FTR Intel, you can actually find every week the spot market updates in terms of volumes and rates for all three equipment types, right? So yeah, FTR Intel and DAT Resources blog. Hi, welcome. I'd love to speak trucking with you. We share so many different views. Yeah, I think that's what I mean. I'm always open to emails, comments, and you know what? I think that's what makes this channel like useful. Yeah, because I learned from you guys because yeah, there are definitely a lot of different views and there are a lot of different opinions, and that's how we learn from each other. Hi, San Luis, Mexico. Hi. Is there any way to find out how many registered Class 8 trucks are in the US today and maybe how many there were before COVID? You know what I've tried, Julian? So I've tried looking at IRP registrations, and there was something I found about a year and a half ago, but the data was so delayed. It was delayed by like a year that I gave up on it. But I think the easiest way to find Class 8 registered trucks is to look at IRP registrations, although this will give you those that run interstate, not intrastate. Do you have insight on 26-foot box truck rates? Unfortunately, I do not. There's not much data for such specifics. Very often, like for example, truck stop data that I use to make maps, it will say specialized. I call them, I'm like, what does specialized mean? And you can see volumes and rates and everything. And not volumes and rates, sorry, volumes and capacity. I'm like, what does specialized mean? And they said it's anything other than flatbed, reefer, and dry van. So it's so generalized that it's very hard to kind of pull out specifically for box trucks or for cargo vans or for tankers or for auto haulers. Unfortunately, the data is just either not there or it's mixed into and diluted by so much other data that it would just be wrong information. Brother Neil, hey, welcome. Do you have reliable stats on best average insurance rates on auto liability per state? I do not. No, that would require me calling every single agent and asking them, what are your average rates? And those, yeah, the insurance rates are going to change from state to state, from company to company, depending on CSA history, depending on what kind of CDLs, how old are the CDLs, how old is the venture, et cetera, et cetera. So I do not, unfortunately. We should not have to negotiate a rate. The shippers pay so much for transportation costs. This is not a administration fee unless it's an LTL load. They should not take any more than 7% of the rate. I actually disagree with you in terms of the negotiation part because I love negotiating. Negotiation also gives me a sense of where the market is. There are several things that I use to gauge the market on a daily basis. There are certain areas I will post the truck, and this is usually in areas where there are a ton of loads because I want to just get an idea of how many brokers are calling me and whether it's a situation which I have run into in the past month where you post a truck and you pick up a phone call and you have another phone call parallel. That's when I know that, hey, I can actually negotiate here because these folks are desperate. And another thing I gauge the market by is the negotiation. Because if I call a couple of brokers and I'm negotiating and I see that they are open to going higher, that means that they don't have much choice. But that's just me. Is Chicago the best spot market? You know what? I wouldn't say it's the best. It's just there is a lot of load volumes there. Yeah, every market is different. Like for flatbeds, the best, like textbook best, would be Mississippi. There are 15 loads per truck there as of this week. 15 loads per truck in the whole state of Mississippi. However, something that I have realized about Mississippi, it often goes to places that I don't feel like sending my trucks to, for example. I really like the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. If you're close to Minneapolis, there are not a lot of loads there, but you can get a good rate per mile if you're ready to wait, even on a flatbed. So I just have learned that the load to truck ratio map should always be used in conjunction with the load volume map, no matter what equipment type you have. Because the load to truck ratio, it's based off of two numbers: how many trucks are posted and how many loads are posted. A broker can post a truck multiple times. I'm sorry, a broker can post a load multiple times, and a carrier might not be posting their truck, which skews the data. Volume, especially if you have an area where there are a couple of states with a ton of volume, you have something to choose from. And this is what has worked for me with the flatbed. Instead of looking for only the markets or going only to the markets where the load to truck ratio is better, I go to the markets where it's within that market and surrounding that market, there are a ton of loads because that eliminates deadheading of other trucks that do not post their trucks, right? I hope that makes sense. It makes sense in my head, but I know I tend to talk in circles sometimes. I factor my own bills. That's amazing. See, that's how the last video I put out, it's not quite the same, but the last video I put out after the market update, there was an article saying how, oh, owner operators are actually seeing more net income now. And you're like, what? And this is because they're doing things like eliminating cost, factoring their own stuff or not factoring, or, selling some equipment that they maybe do not need, et cetera, et cetera. But that's amazing. That's what my ideal situation is, not to use factoring because it does take a percentage. Atlanta is up there for spot rates. Interesting. You know what? For flatbeds, again, I'm a flatbed carrier, so the experience part comes from flatbeds at this time. For flatbeds, I am not a fan of just Georgia in general in terms of freight, because I feel like so many flatbeds end up deadheading out of Florida to Georgia that they completely dilute the situation. And what I have found, we haven't been in Georgia for a while. Because what I find is, yeah, there are a lot of loads posted, but you call on any one of them, covered, 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 covered. And that's because all of those people are deadheading from Florida, which is completely dead. Yeah. Oh, see, but experiences are different. I run out of Atlanta to Shreveport every night, sleep in the ride back. Got it. Cargo vans rates have gone from $1.10 to as low as 45 cents for loads over 600 miles. That is absolutely horrific. Wow. In your opinion, excluded heavy haul, what kind of freight would you recommend me getting into? Have an O4 Freightliner, flatbed drive and refrigerated. Oof. So right now, I don't know what to recommend because every single one has its pros and cons. On one hand, flatbeds, there are areas from my experience which have improved drastically over the last month. But my biggest question is it going to stick? So yeah, and it's also the time for flatbeds. Construction is picking up during this time, weather is better, so time for flatbeds. Reefers, though, are usually reefers pay the most, but they also have the issue with the actual reefer unit and the fuel expenses and the maintenance on the Thermo King or carrier, whichever refrigeration unit you have. Dry vans, they don't have any of those headaches, but they are so oversaturated in the market. There are so many dry vans that you have a lot of competition. So I don't know. Flatbed also, you have to understand that you have to learn the flatbed in terms of securement because you carry a lot of liability with it. With reefer, a little bit less. With dry van, the least liability. It's the easiest one. It just depends. And where are you running? That's another question. Where are you running? Are you running interstate, 48 states, or are you running just regionally or locally? Yeah. Sold my truck 2009. Don't see how owner operators are making it. Yeah. From what I have seen, it's because they're just cutting costs to the minimum. And you know what? I can vouch for that as well because that's what we had to do. We had to do it. If you guys remember, I made a video where I was completely like down in the dumps. For those of you who have been with me on this channel for that long, I was completely demotivated. And yeah, that's when I decided that's it. We're cutting costs. We're cutting costs. We're living, we're working towards paying off any business debt. And we're just, yeah, that's what has worked. And I think a lot of owner operators are doing the same thing. Why are the foreign drivers the new number one issue? What happened to parking and freight rates as the top issue? Look, I think it's a lot of things. Some people, I don't know. I think it's a lot of things. Number one, people are tired, right? People are exhausted. It's been 3 years, over 3 years of this nonsense with the freight market. And folks are always going to like to look for somebody to blame. You have no idea how many times people get so angry. Um, well, you probably do know how many times, but I personally have seen like under my videos, people saying, deport Miranda. I'm a US citizen. Deport Miranda. Everyone is looking for someone to blame. Like, this is the problem that has to be solved in order to make the industry better, in order for me to survive. It's a normal human reaction. And yeah, unfortunately, it's a normal human reaction. But there's also the thing that people, at least from what I hear, and I also experienced it because I did have to go to the truck stop just recently for the carb check. A lot of folks in this industry are, they are foreign drivers. And I think when people are down in the dumps, they're just looking for someone to blame. Yeah. 1 hour maximum to load and unload your trailer at the dock. For flatbeds, yeah, I think you're talking about flatbeds here, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe not. Maybe I missed something. But for flatbeds, yeah, that's true. There are no appointments usually. Very rarely will you have appointments. Usually it's a window, first come, first serve. Just makes it easier. Hi, Vito. Hi, Vito. UA trucker. Hi. Is trucking still a dead horse? Been parked since post-COVID? When demand? When? Yeah, so trucking is, here's the thing. Trucking is ebbing and flowing, right? There are going to be points where it goes up. There are going to be points where it comes down. There's no consistency whatsoever. And the foundation of trucking is still a problem. Yeah, that's the thing I wanted to really express here. The foundation of trucking is not a stable one right now. There are things that happen in reaction to certain things in the market. But yeah, no, still a struggle. I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't even know how to translate that. We need to say no to cheap freight. This is how we bring the market rate. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But the problem that I'm seeing, and it's really a problem, it continues even when we're in a really good area, really good, relatively better than everywhere else for flatbeds, there's still going to be loads that are posted for dirt cheap and someone is going to take them. Yeah. It's very, very sad. You're welcome. Hi, Arthur. Hola. Forgot about FTR. Yeah, FTR is pretty great. And he also does, I forgot his name, Avery, is it Avery? He does podcasts where he explains the data every single week. Like this week, he talked a lot about tariffs and what they mean. So yeah, FTR is wonderful. What do you think about car hauling? Car hauling is something that I have looked into potentially a while back. And then I was like, I don't know. I didn't have much interest in it. Not my cup of tea, I don't think. Is it right to say that as the shipper is bigger, he would utilize more technology to streamline tasks? I would guess so. Yeah, I would guess so. And I think at the end of the day, what everyone is concerned about is profit margins. When you use technology, you cut out jobs, you cut out some of the expense, like payroll expense. So, yeah, I think as people get bigger, they use more technology, shippers included. How are mid-sized US trucking firms balancing ELD compliance and AB5 labor rules with fuel inflation and spot market instability? Yeah, it's very, very hard. Okay, so AB5 is an interesting one because, as you guys maybe remember, some of you, We never hired from California. All our folks, all our team members were from out of state. And even though we were what is it, W-2, we were looking at potentially also doing independent contractors and leasing on folks. And I had to reach out to the, what is it called? California. I actually have it. Hold on. California. I have it saved somewhere. Mm, there we go. The California, I don't know, dir.ca.gov. So I had to get it clarified because there was a time where we were looking to lease on, and that would be independent contractors, which are not allowed here. And what they told me is AB5 does not apply if the independent contractor never drives through or enters California. So that was the way we were looking to do it, but then we ended up with W-2 folks anyway. So that was never applying. In terms of the California is difficult in general because there is the ELD is a federal rule. AB5 is California specific. There's the CARB, right? And I just found out from a friend of mine that he's trying to buy a truck, and he was trying to buy it in another state. I think it was Texas or Arkansas. Found a truck, and they refused to sell to him because he's based in California, because that truck does not meet California's requirements. California has different requirements for trucks that are 2025 or newer. And that to meet that requirement, it costs more to get that engine certified. And it's just a mess now. And that price was really good. So you're stuck buying trucks either in California, which is already expensive, or you're stuck trying to find another dealership that is, like selling the California compliant trucks. And this only applies to those units that are 2025 or newer. Anything before 2025, it just has to do with the diesel, not diesel, with the engine and how old it is. Yeah, it's quite interesting. California, it's very difficult to operate here. Can I monitor rates for RGN low boys without an MC? I actually have not seen, you mean the market rates? I have not seen, except for like going on a load board and looking specifically RGN and locations. I have not seen any market data like packaged up nicely for that kind of specific equipment type. But in terms of load boards, I believe DAT was one of those that, I'm sorry, guys, one moment. I'll read you guys what I got in just a minute. Anyway, DAT was one of those that allowed dispatchers to have accounts, which basically you didn't have to have an MC. I think they changed it though, and truck stop definitely requires an MC in order to log into the load board. The reason I stopped, I just got an email from Carrier Assure titled "Call a carrier's bluff on where they actually operate. Do you want to know if a trucking company is actually hauling freight?" Oh, Lord. Gotta love it. Um, I have an MC and DOT, but not activated. Can I rent an equipment to activate my company? As long as, so in order to activate the MC, you need insurance. In order to get insurance, you need a VIN number. So yeah, in theory, you should be able to. We shouldn't post any trucks, just check on the load board. Yeah, that would be the ideal. And I remember I actually said stop posting your trucks, but then I broke my rule in that sense. Yeah, ideally you shouldn't be posting the trucks, but that's how I gauge the market. I almost never, I would say the conversion rate of people calling me and offering loads, like the conversion to actually me taking that load, is less than 1%. It never really happens. I always call on the load I want, but it helps me understand, depending on how my phone is ringing off the hook or whether it's not ringing at all, I right away understand whether this is a market where I can negotiate more, whether I have negotiation power or not. I went to specialized, making 350 to $5 per mile, 1,000 to 1,500 per week, home every day. Love it. That's amazing. Drivers need to stop working for a week. Protest is the only way. Again, it works in theory, but not in practice, only because a lot of people, owner operators, I guess you're talking about owner operators, because owner operators, some are ready to do that. They don't have any truck payments. Others, if they stop, they lose everything or they default or whatnot. I seem to keep getting unqualified or job hopping drivers applying. Safety and experience is a non-negotiable. How would you go about finding the right guys and gals? Okay, so marine trucker. Um, Job hopping is something that I would close my eyes on a little bit in terms of the trucking industry. It went against everything I was taught as a recruiter in the fashion industry. We actually right away removed anyone who was in a job less than 6 months or something like that. In trucking, it's different. And I learned that very quickly. A lot of carriers, especially mega carriers, do not create the kind of conditions for drivers to be able to stay there. It's either low pay, poor working conditions, or they're forced to do things they really are not to be forced to do. So that's where the job hopping comes up. There's no driver shortage in this industry. There is a driver retention problem in this industry. In terms of unqualified drivers, do you mean in terms of your insurance, like insurances not allowing them? Because if that's the case, yeah, it takes a little bit longer to find a driver who is going to be accepted by your insurance. Our insurance, for example, we have benchmark. They do not want to see anyone who is less than, they say 3 years, but sometimes they'll make an exception, 2-year drivers. The record has to be clean. Like I always tell the story, I had this guy who had a ton of experience. Everything looked great. I was looking to add him to the team, and the insurance said no because he had a speeding ticket in a school zone. Yeah, that's the hard part. So is it insurance that's not allowing you, or what is the issue? I think protesting would just expedite them trying to replace us with self-driving trucks. I really don't believe that self-driving trucks are going to be a huge thing. Not enough for it to compete with people. I mean, not anytime soon. Negotiating is where some companies can drive the rates down, which only work in the broker's favor. Drivers need money, not how many trucks are out there looking for a load. I mean, you can see it from both sides, right? On one hand, negotiating is where some companies can really drive the rates down. That has happened to me before, where I booked a load and the broker then I signed the rate con, and the broker then said that they found a cheaper carrier, right? What carriers do very often, and I was actually offered to do this once. I was looking for a load. I called in. It was posted for a certain rate, and I called in. It was a good rate from the beginning. It was a really dead area. And they said, we have another carrier who offered $100 less. If you can beat that carrier, we'll give it to you. I'm like, no, thanks. Bye. But that's what a lot of carriers will do. We need to stop working for a week. Yeah, again, it's a fantastic idea in theory, but I don't think it's something that would actually work as well as you would think. Keep an eye on ISM metrics. Longest 30-month downside. Worse than '08. Yikes. Hi, Pavel. What do you think about buying HDOT and MC? You know what? I've been trying to find out more about this because I get this question a lot about how to buy it, about what does it mean if you buy it. I can't get a clear answer on this. And as far as I know, when you change ownership, I might be wrong. I just am regurgitating what I have heard. So I would say double check me on this one. As far as I have heard, even when you buy an aged MC number, it resets to the beginning when it's a new owner. Might be wrong though. Why doesn't anybody ever talk about hotshot? Is it not a good business category or our margin is not great? No, it has nothing to do with business category. It's just the data is very, there is no data on hotshot specifically. Like I said before, the data is kind of piled into a category called specialized, and specialized can be anything, which means you can't really pull out the hotshot data. Hi. Do you know anything about military loads? Yeah, I do. I love military loads. Those are my favorite loads to book and haul, and those are the best experiences we have when we pick up military or deliver military loads. They're amazing. All farm exempt. I go to chicken farms and load eggs to take the processor, not for everybody. Yeah. Thank you, only Alex. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. Test question. In the last 5 years, what pro trucking regulations have been implemented? Does FMCSA listen to the comment sessions? Has OIDA accomplished anything positive? I think everything is in progress, right? Like it's all in a process. Sorry. I know that right now, first of all, in the last 5 years, all I have seen is more and more regulations and more like trying to drown truckers in regulations. I'm convinced, and I'm not the only one, I'm convinced that the regulations are there to ensure that you always have to pay fines, whatever. But right now there's a commenting period until May 5th. I need to search it up, but you'll search it up you'll find it if you search it up. Basically, the DOT is asking what regulations truckers want them to cut. So that's positive. Why not post your truck? I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand. Yeah, not posting your truck is kind of blinding the freight broker pretty much, I would say, or giving them less information, because if everyone were to post their trucks and brokers see that, okay, there are, 100 loads here and there are 150 trucks here, it's not going to give them motivation to raise their rates. Yeah, so that's why people say just don't post your truck. Plus, a lot of people say, and they're right, when a broker calls you about a load, most of the time it's one of those really crappy loads that they can't sell because no one is calling on that load. Should I hire a dispatcher to boost my weekly gross? If you hire a good dispatcher, yeah, it's just about finding the right person, right? So a dispatcher can do a lot of things. They can really help you or they cannot. They can just earn money while doing the same job you would be doing, or even worse. It's about finding the right dispatcher. Foreign drivers push down market rates, and that is a fact. They're not capable of communicating, so they need to hire a dispatch team, get a third party involved, and make things even messier. So there are a lot of assumptions that are made in this comment. I'm just trying to be kind of the devil's advocate here, right? The assumption is that every foreign driver does not speak English, and that every foreign driver is ready to take a low rate per mile, which is not always true. Now, in terms of capacity, right? Adding to capacity, yeah, I understand that. But me personally, I wouldn't make generalizations. Then again, I've been hit. I've been hit. I think I'm also a little bit jaded because jaded, I don't know if that's the right word. I have experienced folks who are so who see it as such a huge problem that they go after me. And the thing is, I have experienced it when I was young too. I never really, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into personal. Would you be interested in doing RGNs? They have the most RPM in trucking. Yeah, you know what? I've heard of that. I have never looked into RGNs just because of how much they cost. And I don't think that our place where we rent our flatbeds actually has RGNs for rent. There's plenty of blame to put on foreign drivers, especially when they can't read English and their federal laws prohibit. That I can agree with. Yeah. So I think that when you are a CDL holder, you do need to be able to speak and understand English enough in order to understand the officer, understand the signs, because that is a safety issue. That I agree with 100%. Um, Trying to get my DOT and MC out to get them. Do I need to get insurance right away, or how does it work? Thank you. So your DOT doesn't need activation. Your MC, you have, how long is the, hold on. See, I haven't been, what is it called? I haven't, I've, I haven't been doing the authority thing for so long that I forgot. Forgot how long it is. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, you need so yeah, sorry, forgot. You need insurance and BOC3 in order to activate your authority. And then, you know what, send me an email and I'll send you a response because I need to look it over. I haven't thought about authority in such a long time that it completely slipped my mind. Thank you. I appreciate it. See, I love the different opinions. You say it's perfect, other people say it's annoying. That's how we learn from each other. It's surprising how many people don't know how to calculate their expenses. That is very true. That is a really big issue, I think. People don't know their cost per mile at all. It's okay. I'm working on something that is going to help everyone, hopefully. Gonna level the playing field a little bit, get everyone on the same page. It's just taking me longer than I expected, but I'll get it done. Just got out of trucking. It's not going to get better. I hope it does. I don't know. I hope it does. I want to try Hey Babba from your review. It wasn't a review because I've never used it. It was just like an overview of Hey Babba. But yeah, the one of the guys from Hey Babba actually ended up sending me an email afterwards saying thanks for the video. But I've never tried it. I'm curious. I would love for someone to try it who is interested in it and then tell me how they like it. I've been getting texts trying to buy my aged MC. Yeah, you're gonna be careful. A lot of that is spam, but there are a lot of people trying to buy an aged MC. Again, I have heard, and you have to correct me or you have to take it with a grain of salt because it's just rumors. I have heard it resets when it changes ownership. So the goal of people trying to buy an aged MC is because people who get into this industry right now, they end up what? My God, my brain is not braining today. They end up not being able to book loads because a lot of brokers don't want to work with new MCs. Does that make sense? Sorry. Oh my God. Thank you, only Alex. What do you think about probable brake check law? I haven't even heard that that was a thing. Am I crazy? I need to look it up. I have been in my own world lately. I have been coding. Something for, for folks in the industry. So, but I have been coding, so I haven't even heard of that. The MC age doesn't reset if you sell the entire LLC. Interesting. Wow. Miranda, let's make a video about HDOT and MC. Please, please, please. I'll look into it. I just need to do a lot of digging because I don't want to give information that is not accurate. If you buy an MC or DOT, make sure it's active because once you put a DOT to sleep, reactivating will count as a new DOT. Interesting. There we go. Sure thing. What's up, you guys? Hi. Uh, Regarding posting your truck, it does not matter to them because the brokers can see where you have a search active. So they know where your truck. Oh my gosh, that is very true, Alex. That is so true because I was not understanding how this happens. At first, I thought on truck stop when you click on a load, all of a sudden that broker would call me and say, "Hey, you clicked on our load." Okay, that makes sense. But then when I was not clicking on the load, they were still calling me and asking me if I'm looking within the area I was looking for without posting my truck. So that makes sense now. That's annoying. There's a lot of us against non-domiciled CDLs, non-English speaking individuals, individuals that have non-US or Canadian CDLs. I get it. Mm. I completely understand that. I'm torn. I mean, I'm torn in certain things, you know. I, from a human perspective, again, I was a psychology major. That's what I was planning to be, a psychologist, actually, a child psychologist for abnormal psychology when I was studying. So the human factor, and I also am the kind of person who has a lot of empathy, which is a pain in the butt. From the human factor, I feel like constantly I read these comments about like all immigrants are bad, everything is bad. And yeah, it gets to me just from a human perspective. From a business perspective, I get it. I completely get it. I saw it myself again a few days ago. I saw it myself a few days ago when I had to do that clean truck check thing that cost me $200. Anyway, I know this happens on truck stop 100% because I used to receive random calls from brokers without posting my truck, and they already knew where I had the truck because they saw my search. Yeah, that makes complete sense now. Unqualified, years of experience, safety violations, insurance isn't an issue, except I'd rather not bring the average experience down for premium purposes. Job hopping 5 jobs in a year is an issue. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I have one of the best folks I have hired. He was not a job hopper and he had a ton of experience, but I've also hired I'm kind of rating them. I shouldn't do that. The second best person I hired was a job hopper. He was a job hopper and he was incredible, absolutely incredible. For us, in terms of safety, we also look at safety when hiring folks. We don't want, I mean, we also don't want to risk, right? So finding those kind of folks that, are qualified, whatever that means to you, yeah, it takes a lot of searching. For me, some of the best folks I have hired was from the Truckers Report, the forum. Yeah, maybe that would be helpful to you. I thought they were getting rid of the MC. Who? I'm confused. Have you ever run tankers? There's good. I have never run tankers. No. I've never even looked into it, to be quite honest. Yeah. Um, anyway, okay, that I answered. I have no idea. I've been living under a rock. Uh, bye. Ciao, ciao. Uh, you're so welcome, Ron. Where's the Big Dance sequel video? You know what? I have not had time, literally no time. I have been, as I said, living under a rock. I have a project that I'm working on, which is taking forever. So, but it's going to be nice. I think it's going to be perfect at the end. Child psychology, perfect qualification for dealing with the new breed of truckers out there. You would be surprised, you do have to. I have learned this that uh, I don't delegate a lot, so I usually am the one who does the load booking. I do the back office. I make sure the company is in compliance. I'm also the person that everyone calls uh, for any reason. So yeah, you do have to have a little bit of a psychologist mentality because it is really hard. It is really, really hard for the folks who drive. I can't even imagine. I know about it, but I can't even imagine what it's like to go through it. Oops. You're so welcome. Job hopper is understandable in some segments of the industry. Yeah, I agree. In trucking, it's definitely much more common and understandable than in another industry like fashion. Meet a guy from Germany with a German CDL. Here on visa, speaks English well. He says he wants to drive CMB in the United States, but he says he's not ready because he doesn't know the United States regulations. I will assist him. Nice. That's very nice. Um, yeah, I think the reality is, again, in terms of immigration and all of that, I am torn from because I'm looking at it from all sorts of perspectives, including from the perspective of just human decency, and then from the perspective of and human decency also has its layers, right? Because you have to look at the perspective, okay, human decency, but there's people who are affected negatively by it and people who are not affected by it and just join in. um but yeah, I look at everything a little bit more from all sides, so I can never that's why I very often cannot give a like straight answer to questions because I'm looking from as many perspectives as I can. That's how I was taught to think, and that's how I think. We run Tinker. It's extremely expensive to get into, especially food grade kosher. Oh yeah, kosher would be. Kosher would be a very great, what is it called? Negotiation point, I suppose. Yeah, I need to learn more about the other equipment types. I don't even know much about them. One of my best friends, she used to have a trucking company and she ran Hotshot. And I didn't learn anything from her. Yeah, I didn't learn anything because I was so into my own thing. I need to, yeah, look into it. FMC should get rid of insurance companies and make their own insurance companies so we pay FMCSA. What way it's cheaper and win-win for everyone. Insurance companies are scam. Yeah, insurance companies are, I don't have much to say there because really insurance companies are just trying to protect their behinds, which again, I understand from a business perspective, but from the perspective of the trucking company that uses them, yeah, it's challenging when although our rates, they are okay. There are more or less okay, and they haven't. I've heard people say how rates have increased exponentially for them year over year, while everything remained like clean on their CSA score with their CDLs. I haven't experienced that as much, but they have increased in some regards, but that's because of choices that we have made. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Have benefits at my job for 15 years, same company. That is amazing. See, like, that's incredible. 15 years with one company. Um, oops. Hi, how are you? I have a question. How can I find truck drivers from social media? I recommend, again, the best folks I have found were from the truckers report forum. You know what? Let me post it here since I'm pretty much, I caught up with the comments. That's amazing. Report. So if you go to the truckers report, you can't post jobs just anywhere. You have to go to um, there is a place, it's called Trucking Jobs, and there you can post jobs. I have found the best folks from there. Yeah. So the truckers report in terms of social media on Facebook, there are some groups that are for truckers, and you can find folks there too. Have you thought about using your platform to advocate for owner operators, actually starting a movement that tackles things like speed limiters or broker transparency? You know what? I have in passing, not because I don't care about those issues, but because I feel like I'm just Miranda. However, again, I'm working on something that should, without me having to say and advocate, there are a ton of advocates, right? There is the OIDA, which some people love, some people hate, but there are a ton of advocates that are much bigger than me that actually have a very, very strong voice in the industry. Instead of doing that, again, I'm working on something. I've been coding like crazy. Um, that should level the playing field a little bit, that should give information to owner operators and carriers about who they're working with. And yeah, I want it to be a surprise, but I'm working on something to help as much as I can. I'm currently looking for a trucking company to sign on with as an owner operator. I'm on the fence how to ensure that a company does not cut my rates or skimp off the top on hot loads. That is a great question. Yeah, you have to. The best thing you can do is word of mouth. Ask the folks that work there, if you're able, what they think of the company. Yeah. Also, usually the smaller carriers are a little bit more trustworthy in my experience from what I have heard. Started new MC struggling to find brokers to work with, set up with CH and TQL. Any guidance? You know what? From what I remember, CH Robinson I've never worked with. TQL I have for a very long time, but not anymore. But TQL is one of the brokers that still works with new authorities. On Truck Stop, you can actually filter by age of authority that a broker requires if the broker enters it in. But other than TQL, I don't know many. I think your best luck will be finding the smaller brokers, make sure that their credit score is okay. But those smaller brokers might be open to using references from other brokers. By the way, TQL is usually not seen as a reference because they're so huge. Generally speaking, how's the market looking for flatbeds and reefers these past couple of weeks? Again, for flatbeds, and this is from completely my own experience, I live this and breathe this every single day. For flatbeds, it's getting easier if you know where to stick to. For us, it's the Midwest and sometimes the South. We don't go past. The East Coast has never been good to us, except for maybe like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's closer to Ohio. But then the tolls end up killing you. So yeah, for us, it's the Midwest and South. In terms of reefers, from what I have seen, reefers have been struggling. This is the first week, if I'm not mistaken. No, second week where reefer rates went up. But reefer rates, $2.18 per mile for all loads, including short and long hauls. You have to understand it skews it, right? Because small loads, they pay way better per mile. So if $2.18 is all you're getting, including those short loads, yeah, reefers are struggling right now. I do not at this time. No. Where to find dispatchers? Dispatchers, yeah, you have to research. I would actually look also on the truckers report. The best dispatchers you will find is word of mouth, right? Because if someone goes out of their way to recommend someone like a dispatcher, that means that they're actually a good dispatcher. Yeah. I'm leased on to Edco out of Hollister, Florida. Very transparent. Love it. Yeah, transparency is the key. That's what that was like our biggest policy is transparency. It was the most important because we knew that folks from the industry who have been in the industry for a while, they are probably traumatized by the treatment they receive from a lot of carriers. So transparency has always been the key for us. I remember we had one gentleman. He's no longer with the company, but it started off so bumpy because he did not trust us at all. He had so many bad experiences, and it took us about 3 months of consistently being transparent for him to finally trust us. Yeah. It's work. It's work because folks are traumatized by what some businesses do. Oops. Don't ever talk to C.H. Robinson for someone who knows real talk. From someone who knows. Yeah, I've never booked a single load with them. There was a moment in the beginning where I tried to, and they were the only broker who would not negotiate with me. And that's the moment I said, I'm not working with C.H. Robinson. Although a lot of people love them. Oh, there we go. For Chris, what kind of equipment do you have? I get a spreadsheet of everything that the entire company does, even the owner each week. All the drivers get the same thing. Interesting. Oh, you're a dispatcher. There we go. We have all sorts of folks on this channel, and the one thing we have in common is the trucking industry and the fact that we're all waiting for it to stabilize, I would say. Yeah. So like this, yeah, I actually came on here to just give clarification um, on the market update because I know it shocked the crap out of a lot of people, rightfully so. So I just wanted to come on here and say that, guys, this is data. It's going to show you, first of all, the spot market data, just so you know, the FTR Intel data that I show how much vans or reefers or flatbeds increased week over week. That is from last week. It's not this week, right? It's always 1 week delayed. So, and those that don't feel like your experience matches the data, that's because it's a game of averages. Thank you so much. I feel like I've been slacking a little bit lately. I have to admit, again, I've been super busy and I feel like, okay, today's the day where I do 2 videos and a live to make up for my slacking. uh, Cash on delivery loads? No, I do not. I don't trust anyone. If a broker has a bad credit score, that's it, they're cut out. Like, for example, R&R Express. It's a new broker. We have worked with them a lot. We have transported a lot of loads for them. They just pay with a delay. So they got downgraded on RTS, which is where I check the broker's credit score. They got downgraded because of the delayed payment. I will not work with them at this point because I just don't trust their, just like all those folks who, like that gentleman I was talking about who came to us and it took us 3 months to get him to trust us because he was so traumatized by the industry. I feel like same thing, kind of. I'm traumatized by what people do. So I do not trust and I will not work with brokers who have a bad credit score. It's just not going to happen. If I'm starting a trucking company, do you have any advice on how to shop around for factoring companies? I would go ahead. Listen, you have to, first of all, you have to figure out whether you're looking for recourse or non-recourse factoring. Second of all, you have to look, the most important thing in my mind, because it's a cost, is what is the fee and how much do you need to factor to get a certain fee, right? There are factoring companies that will, like, if you factor up to 5,000 loads per month, you have one fee, like 5%. If you factor 10,000 loads $10,000 loads per month, sorry, $10,000 worth of loads per month, then you get 4% factoring. So you have to look it up. There are certain, there are factoring companies everywhere. I use RTS. I really like their system. I really like the customer service. They're easy to get a hold of. So, and the system I understand. So I use RTS both for factoring and fuel. But it's just about research and comparing. You always have to compare. Thank you, Jamil. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Guys, is it me or has the market been absolute garbage the past 2 weeks? No, it's not just you. And that's one thing that I really want to also kind of highlight. Those who are feeling like it's a mess, they're not crazy. You're not living in a different reality. It is a mess. The data only shows, averages of everything. For me personally, I'll tell you my experience has been different than yours, but this also required a ton of planning and a ton of trial and error. And it also required luck in the sense of, I think it was boosted flatbed freight by the panic over tariffs. But a lot of folks share the same view as you, that it's a disaster. And for flatbeds as well. I mean, again, we managed to stay in better areas, but the moment we get out of them, it's a mess. It's a mess. It's hard to book loads. You're losing days. You have to deadhead a ton. So, yeah. Oh, interested. Did not Navajo shut down? They haven't paid for loads. I did 4 months ago. Oh my goodness. Hold on. We used to we did a couple of loads with them before. Oh my God, what did I just type? I don't know. Let's see. It shows that they're active. Let's see their insurance. You should, if they haven't paid for your load in 4 months that you did 4 months ago, you should be filing against their bond. Search. Come on, search. Dun, da, da, dun. I love what is it called? The human verification. Especially, okay, verify already. Oof. Don't you love it when you have to verify 250 times? They keep giving you a bunch of different images, like oh my God. I'm just curious about Navajo Express. There we go. I finally verified that I'm human. um, so view details, active pending insurance. Their insurance is still, yeah, it's still active from May 29th, 2024. It's active. So you should file against their bond if they haven't paid for so long. But on the other hand, you know what I want to check? Let's check with RTS what their credit score is, because that is curious. Credit search, DOT. Okay. Their credit score right now is ineligible for factoring. I guess they are messing up. I have been hot on my hot shots, but my box trucks are crap. The markets are hit and miss. Yeah, that's very true as well. And you might have the same equipment type, and depending on which market area, it's a completely different story. Yeah. Navajo is famous for not paying. There we go. Yeah, they're rated an I, which is ineligible on RTS for factoring. What's a great company to start off with straight out of CDL school? Here's the thing. Great company can mean a lot of different things. Because mega carriers are usually self-insured, they're able to take on new CDL holders. A lot of carriers, like smaller carriers, are, in my opinion, the best. They're the most transparent, usually, statistically speaking, but they have insurance that literally beats them with a bat. So if they hire new CDL holders, either their insurance is not going to accept it, or they have to change to an insurance that raises their insurance costs like crazy. To give you an idea, we went through this once. Like we pay 1,600, which per truck, which is liability, physical damage, and cargo insurance. This is what we pay right now. We hired a new driver. We changed insurance for a minute there, and that was $3,200 something per truck. A lot of companies cannot They just can't. Yeah. So I recommend, just to get your experience, to get more time on your CDL, start with a bigger player that can insure newer CDL holders. Be careful of some companies. Always double check, because some companies will say, yeah, we can take you under insurance, and they never insure you. They just lied to insurance that this driver does not exist. So be very careful. They have had a reduced credit rating over the last 6 months, and they're on my list as possible. And so, yeah, Navajo. Yeah, it looks like they're not safe to work with. Hey, John. I filed on their bond over a month ago. They keep saying we're reaching out to the broker about this. Yeah, sometimes it takes a while for the bond. I have had to file on the bond of PLS Logistics, and it took forever. Eventually, the broker ended up paying us, and they got really, really upset that we filed against their bond. But whatever, we never work with PLS anymore. Sometimes it takes a while. Yeah. I have not. What is that? Thank you, Jamil. What is okay, now I have to what's that? Oh, it's a load board. Oh no, I have never used it. No, I am on truck stop. So I have used DAT when I had reefers and dry vans. And since we moved to flatbeds only truck stop. It's called Lane Makers. Thank you so much, Hugh. I need blessings for sure. I'm, I'm so, I'm getting tired, which is weird. Yeah. I think I'm getting not, I wouldn't say burnt out. I just think I added too much on my plate for what is happening in the market, but I'm too stubborn to stop something. Uh, 10 point. No, it's the worst I've seen yet in my 6 years. My saving grace used to be NYC loads, 340 to $4 per mile. People are going for yeah. Oh, you mean the ones that go to New York City? Yeah, a lot of carriers, including us, we won't go to New York City. Yeah, the market, it's a pain in the butt right now. They can see active searches, and we can see broker active searches. Wait, we can? How? I don't even know that. How can we see the broker active searches? Thank you, only Alex. Can you recommend a good truck tax person? I actually can't. I get this question a lot because I never used a trucking specific tax accountant. My guy is a CPA that has been doing taxes for my husband's family forever, and he doesn't know trucking taxes. The truck part of the taxes, I explained to him on how to do, because I'm really bad in general taxes, but trucking taxes I know. So we kind of help each other out. Yeah, I never used an actual truck tax person. Thank you, Jamil. I appreciate it. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm not very good with pronunciation. All's well, just trucking, tell him, oh, you guys are having a conversation. I love when people start having conversations. Um, let's see. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Sucks, avoid at all costs, not worth the insane cost. Yeah, I've never used them. Truck stop and DAT. And DAT I haven't used in a while. Again, since we became like fully flatbed carriers. No. What are the best free load boards to use? I don't know. I've never used anything other than DAT and truck stop. It took me a while to get used to truck stop after using DAT because it's so different. The interface. Oh, Foxhound. No, you're so out. Um, yeah, truck stop uses such a different interface. It's a little bit less, I would say, I don't know, it's a little bit less modern, I would say, but I really like truck stop. It has a lot of stuff there. And DAT was really good for reefers and dry vans. Hi, Solar from Germany. Guten Tag. I hope I just said it in German. You know that German is my favorite language in terms of how it sounds. I find that to be the most beautiful language out there. I tried learning it once, it didn't work. Anyway, guys, looks like I caught up with all the comments. So I appreciate you guys joining me today and chatting with me. uh yeah. Okay, a few more and then I am out. More coding. Dat and truck stop are the two that almost all brokers will post to for spot market loads. Yeah, correct. Two of the biggest. The rest have too small a population of brokers to be worth the time. Yep. How can we reach direct customers? I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Please be patient with me. I'll get you guys the information you want. Oh, sorry, that's a conversation. Thank you so much, Jamil. Yay, thank you. Thank you for your videos. More flatbed content, please. Rest is also important, so don't overwork yourself. Thank you again. Thank you, Catherine. Yes, rest is very important. I always struggle with that one, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Uh, you should have John from Double Broker Bounty Hunter on your podcast. That's the guy I was saying hi to. Oh, interesting. I don't even know the Double Broker Bounty Hunter. I love it. There was, oh my God, there was some kind of article about how one double broker, it was a carrier who stole so much freight using a double brokering scheme. They're facing jail time. Love it. Oh, my Guten Tag was perfect. Yes. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't have a TikTok. No, I have an X account where I'm trying to train myself to post. It's very hard for me because, again, I keep adding and adding to my plate, and there's so many things I have to remember. For me, the priority is, of course, the trucking company, the YouTube channel, and the project I'm working on that is going to help you guys with direct shippers. It's going to help you leave reviews for broker. It's going to be a lot of things. Anyway, so I have to go now because I do have to code and I have to get that thing working because that's how I am trying to help the industry. So, yeah, again, I appreciate all of you joining. Thank you so much for your support. And I will see you guys in the next video. I'm debating whether to do a trucking roundup this week because honestly, there haven't been much news that we haven't talked about, but we'll see. We'll play it by ear. Bye, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Be safe, safe roads, and safe travels. Bye.